And I'm a recovering addict. Um, this is my first speaker meeting. Um, so I got a little bit of anxiety, right? The cool thing is that I've known about this. I've known that I was going to be coming here to speak for a little over 2 weeks and haven't stressed out about it at all. And I haven't tried to sit there and think about, like, what am I going to say? Like, in what order am I going to say the stuff in? Like, what's going to be my, like, hitting line, whatever. And it's cool that I was able to do that because I, like, avoided a lot of stress. But, like, now I'm here. And it's actually not as bad as when I was sitting down there and out here. So I'm not here to, like, woo anybody, right? I'm here because I was asked to be of service, and I'm here for my recovery. So I'm gonna make an effort to talk about my experience without doing too much, like, back and forth, because I just always imagined it like being really hard for me to do the chronological order of things, because it wasn't like that. I was like over here, I was a kid, and then I, like, went down this hole over here, right? And then I, like, came up, and then I went down this hole over here, right? I had, like, so many different lives and so many different scenarios with so many different shady people, right? So just bear with me. I'm gonna try to, like, keep it concise. So, my father, right? My dad is black. My mom's white. I was raised by a single mother, right? And I was raised in her family, right? Which is my family, like the family that I know, right? Which is, like, all white people, right? It's cool, right? But the reason I say that is because, like, we talk about being different here and, like, feeling different, right? Like, there's no doubt that, like, obviously I felt different, right? I was different, right? To a certain extent. Like, physically, I was a little bit different. So, I, too, believe that my disease, was present long before I picked up my first drug, right? But I didn't always know that. I think I was oblivious. As a kid, I was, like, happy, I was, like, happy, and I didn't see color. I didn't see that when I was really young. I just, like, was, like, hanging out, right? Just, like, laughing a lot, playing and stuff, kind of just, like, tinkering. But it wasn't until, I actually had, like, the privilege and a blessing of realizing one of the major events that happened in my life when I was a child that helped me further myself into that self-loathing, right? And I don't resent my cousin for that today, but it's like a year and a half ago, I was able to look back and think of when we used to go to church, right? I was the only brown kid there. I didn't see that, right? But I was, like, in church. It was in Beaverton, actually. We used to go with my aunt and all her 5 kids. My cousins were my best friends. And I thought back, and I remember my cousin saying, like, to all his friends, like, look at his hair, it's like, it's this, it's that, like, look at him, like, right? Pointing and laughing at me, and all the other kids were laughing, right? And it fucking, like, I carried that with me, right? Like, I carried the belief that I was ugly with me, right? Even though looking back, it's like, pictures of myself at that age it's clear to see I was, like, a handsome young man. I was like a beautiful little brown man, right? Gilbert, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, man, it's just a trip looking back, right? Because that's not what I thought of myself. So I carried that with me, right? And then I always wanted to try to do my hair a certain way. And my mom would say, no, let's do it this way. And I was like, no, whatever, right? Fast forward a little bit, late middle school, all the way through high school, I started wearing a hat because I was so ashamed of my hair, right? I had this negative image. I had beautiful curls, man. I had big curls at one point. I fucked them up trying to straighten them, looking like all the other kids in my school, right? Like, that's a real story, man. Like, I fucked my hair up, straightening it, because I was trying to look like everybody else and fit in, right? But anyway, so I became like, I carried that very negative, super low self-image of myself throughout my whole life, right? And it started as a young child, and then, like late middle school, early high school, I would like wear a hat, right? And everybody knew, like, don't fuck with my hat. I was like real serious about it. I wasn't like big into fighting, but I was aggressive about don't touch my hat. Like everybody knew, don't fucking touch my hat, right? Like don't take my hat off. That's how ashamed of my hair I was. And like even at my closest friend's house, right? I would go stay the night. Like I'm sleeping with my hat on, with the people I'm closest to, so that's just like for me, it's like a demonstration or like a good example, right, of like where the self-loathing and like the negative self-image and the low self-esteem and the self-centeredness like was present in my life. Like the disease was present long before I started using. So I had my first. Well, actually, I'm not gonna count it. Like when I was like 5 years old, a little sip of a beer, or whatever. But like it was I think it was like 11 and 12 years old. I tried somewhere around that age. There was a box of wine, right? A wine box from one of the neighbors that lived in my apartment complex. I'm not even gonna get into that shit, right? That's like for another speaker meeting. But this old man, right, let the kids come around, right? We would all play over there. It was cool. It was away from our parents' house where we could do like things that we weren't supposed to do, right? So like the first time I had a little cup of that box wine, right? Obviously I didn't like say like, oh, I feel good, and like set it down and be like, I feel good. I'm done. Like that feels good. And done, right? Like, no, obviously not. I had to like keep drinking it. I need more of this. Like, I need to have more, right? Until I was sick, right? And I was crying. I was doing like the foxhole prayer already at a young age, like, help me. So that's where my using really started, as far as like using drugs and alcohol. I was still very uncomfortable throughout early high school, and then late sophomore year, I got, was hanging out with the cool kids and got caught smoking weed, so I got put in the alternative program. And like, I felt, obviously I felt more accepted by like the cool kids, right? Out on the corner smoking cigarettes and skipping class and doing high school stuff that probably most of us participated in. A little bit of hallucinogens, and then after high school, mind you, all the way, like, my entire life has been so irresponsible, like, complete and utterly irresponsible. Didn't even want to, like, take a shower. Like, I didn't shower when I was using intravenously, like, downtown, but, like, even when I was a kid, most of the times I didn't want to shower. I don't know, man, I just, like, that was something, like, some form of responsibility. You know what I'm saying? My mom was like, you need to go shower. I'm like, I would go up in the bathroom and like pretend I was showering and be doing something else, But anyways, the white and the clear drugs came after high school. And it was the same as, like, how we use, like, the one is too many, 1,000 is never enough. I couldn't never just, like, oh, that tastes good, or that's good, and, like, be done. That was a foreign concept to me. It still is. So, I had tried black, right? I don't know if I'm doing a drug log. I'm just trying to share my experience. I'm not trying to get too deep into like right, but I need to say that it was heroin that really like boosted my my journey to the bottom, right? So the first 7 or 8 months I was doing that, I didn't know that when you quit, like, you would get sick. Nobody told me that, right? And they also told me it was opium, right? They always tell you, right? Oh, it's just opium, right? No, right? It was nope. It was definitely black, right? So I realized after 8 months of doing it every day, and when I finally stopped doing it for whatever reason, I realized I didn't feel so good. So like that's where I developed my habit, and then I'll fast forward a little bit. That landed me. I was doing things that I never would have. I told myself I would never do. Already, using drugs intravenously and committing crimes that I didn't even want to do, but like I wanted to, right? Because I needed to get more, right? And like the crime I committed, it was so like the first one was so, it was so irresponsible of me or whatever you want to call it, because it was like dude's like, okay, I got these magnetic ink. He was printing out fraudulent checks, right? He was like, I'm like, well, I don't have a fake ID. He's like, use your ID. So I went into, Winco and Fred Meyers and cashed fraudulent checks with my name. We printed my name on it, and I used my own ID, right? I knew I was going to get caught down the road, right? But if I could get like $300-400 today, like right now, like living just for today, like fuck it, right? So, now I am a felon. I was in and out of jail. As my disease progressed, I got more charges, like all the little theft twos from Safeway, right? The DVDs and stuff. Lost energy, started spanking from people, right? Downtown, or just on the east side, over by Lloyd Center, walking around with a gas can. Try to justify it by telling myself, like, well, I really don't have any gas, right? So, like, technically, I'm out of gas, man. So, like, it's okay, So my disease took me places I never thought I would go, jails and institutions, temporary death, I guess you could call it, waking up from an OD saying, y'all know how that goes, mad, and so when I think it was either 08 or 09, I got a real fuzzy memory. How much time do I have? Okay. 08 or 09, I got, oh my God. So I'm like dope sick and drunk, right, same time, right? I got this big white puffy jacket, big white puffed out jacket on, right? I'm on 42nd and Powell, that's right, 42nd and Powell, and there was a payphone there, right? And so I was like off on one, right? So I took a hammer and a screwdriver, I pulled my arms inside of the sleeves, and I'm out there, like, beating on this paper. And I got rolled up on, right? And then that begun my process of going to, I guess I'm hopping back and forth and stuff, but that started my process of the going in and out of jail. Fuck, man, I was going somewhere with that. Right. Jail. Good. Jail. Yeah, so I went to jail. Fuck, man. I was really going somewhere with that, but it'll come back. All right. Boom. Jail. Went to jail, right? Went to jail, and I got out on pretrial release, and they said, here's a list of Narcotics Anonymous meetings you need to go to. It was either 08 or 09, right? So my first so my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting outside of an institution was a candlelight meeting of NA called New Journeys on 34th and Gladstone in Southeast Portland, right? And I walked in there, and like I could feel the love, right? I could feel like the energy that was going on in the room. Everybody was hugging me and like welcoming me, and I remember they gave me a phone list, and I couldn't believe that they gave me a piece of paper with like people's phone numbers on them from the meeting, right? And I got a lot of love there. I was loaded when I went. I went to get my slip signed. But like, there's still some people, man. There's some people today that are clean who don't even know that I feel this way about them. But when I see them today, the few people that were there at that meeting, when I went to that meeting, like when I see them today, they're like a pillar in my like recovery program, like my Narcotics Anonymous for me, right? They don't even know it, man. Like just them being there and seeing them and saying, "Oh my God, you're still here," right? And like having that nostalgic feeling of like, man, they were here when I fucking came in here like 7 years ago, and they're still doing the deal, right? Um, but anyway, I got out of there. I went to the bus stop, and I was on my way to go see my dude, right, and go cop. And there's a dude sitting on the bench nodding out, and I started preaching to him about NA and preaching to him about how you should get clean. Because I saw him nodding out, right? Takes one to know one. I started preaching to him about how he needs to get clean and stuff, and I'm literally on my way to cop a bag. So, that we talk about denial in here, right? Like, don't even notice I am lying. Like a straight up, like severe denial. I suffered from that, and hopefully I don't today. I wouldn't know it, but that's why I need you guys, and I got a pretty tight support group who calls me up, pulls me up on my behavior, right? Like it's important. So, anyways, my first exposure to NA was in an institution, and it was from when I went to Hooper Detox. And I remember I went up the stairs. It was when Hooper was on Cooch. Yeah, co-ed, right? Smoking cigarettes all day. And I remember I walked up the stairs and I saw the steps written on the wall. I don't know if it was from the Liquid Fellowship or if they had the NA steps up here, but I saw them written down. I read them and I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, I just did all this. Like, that's me. Like, I did this." Like I honestly thought that I had done the steps, and it's funny because I got a friend right now who I grew up with, and he's fucked up. Like, in the first step in the flat book, it talks about inner or personal unmanageability, and he suffers from that, man. He's an addict, right? Like, I know you gotta, nobody can tell you whether you're an addict or not, but I know he is because he's saying all the classic, newcomer stuff. Like, it's crazy, but, he's really struggling, and he's been reading the book, and he's like, "No, man, I'm on step 9, bro." I'm like, "All right, man, all right." It's funny, man, hearing the classic, I don't know. You know how when we get here, we learn NA language, right? And so we know how to talk and stuff. He doesn't know any of that. He's brand new to the program. So to hear him say all of the classic shit, man, I'm always gonna feel like this, man, or he's like, "Fuck, man, I'll never be happy, dude. This shit is boring, man. What do you guys?" He's like, "What do you guys do around here, man?" He's like, I don't know if I can. He's like, "I'm just mad because I don't know if I can have a drink anymore and shit." I just get to the point, talking to him, where I'm like, "Bro, just okay, you do what you're gonna do, man. I'll be here, right?" And that's something that I really love, and I take pride in, but I try to have some humility about it. Is that I fucking stay clean, not only for myself and not only for the newcomer that walks in, right, but for my potential newcomers that I grew up with, man, because there's a lot of them out there, and so I keep the door open, right, so that if they want to get clean, they know who to call, right? They can call me, and he did, and he has a little over 60 days now, so he's doing all right, man. But anyways, how much time do I? For real?
Yeah. Talking too fast. Hey.
Huh? Right. Okay, so all that stuff happened, and I came around. I came back around to NA. I came back around to meetings in general. I'll say that, right? Came back around to meetings in 2010, 2011, trying to pull some women, right? Trying to get with women. Literally, that was my main goal. That was my intention for coming back. You know, that was a majority, right? I'd say probably 90% of the reason why I came back when I did, right? Yeah, I wanted to be clean, but like we always all wanted to be clean, right? So like my main reason was that's what I was trying to do, and somehow I wasn't successful at it. I don't know how that didn't work out, but I was like, where I'm going with that is I came in and out, right? In and out, in and out. And I remember going to like Freedom in the Flats and stuff in 2011. My buddy Bobby had a few years clean at that time. And I was in the meeting, and at that time, right, I was like leaning more towards like, I think I'm doing something right here, right? I'm trying to do this, but I don't remember hearing anything. I don't remember hearing the Narcotics Anonymous message like I hear it today. Right, so what that tells me is that I really wasn't listening. I really wasn't ready to receive the message, because I can't think back to a time back then where I heard the message like the way I hear the message today, right? Where like it hits my heart, right? And it makes me feel good. Sometimes it makes me emotional, right? Like I get a tear, man, when I hear somebody passionate about the program, right? So anyway, I did that. So all the while, right, while all this stuff is going on, 2008 they put me on paper, right? I got it was my first offense, so I got all this community service. I was supposed to go to treatment. I did a little bit of time in jail. Didn't complete any of that stuff. Anyways, I ended up in Stark Court, which I'm really thankful for. I'm really thankful for drug court. I really am. I understand that drug court, that shit don't keep you clean. It does not keep you clean, but man, it kept me feeling some type of way to the judge. Oh, I know all about NA. I know referring meetings to people when, like, so drug court, people go up on the stand, like we all are in there. Everybody who has done the best throughout the last week, you haven't missed any appointments, you go up first and they go, oh, it gives you a fucking $5 Starbucks gift card, right? And he like asked me like, oh, somebody would say something about a meeting. I'm like, oh, there's this meeting and that meeting and this meeting, right? So I thought I knew so much about NA when I really didn't, right? But that kind of saved my ass, because that's what I was telling the judge, right? Was like, oh, I know all about meetings. I got him to reduce my required amount of meetings that I had to get signed. But anyways, I relapsed. I got my shit revoked. I did 60 days, and then I got a bed in DePaul Treatment Center. I was there for 4 months, had lost the desire to use, and I got out after 4 months, got into an Oxford house, and I wanted to be clean, but I wasn't attending meetings. Anyways, relapsed. And for the first time in my life, I came to the judge, right? I stopped on my own without having to have been arrested, right? I went to the judge. I said, I need an alcohol monitor. I've been drinking and I just smoked. I've relapsed, right? And so that was 7/2/12. My clean day is 7/3/12. I have 2 years and 8 months. I knew of a guy named Devin, not Devin from New York, but this dude Devin, right? Dude Devin, who I knew was in NA, so I called him up. I said, hey, can you sponsor me? He said, yeah. So he took me to the Doing Life men's meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. I got a service position, and I made that meeting my home group. Then the next day, Tuesday night, is the Come As You Are meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. I went to that meeting. I got a service position there, and I continued to show up to those meetings every week, right? Only problem was that I felt like I was living kind of two different lives, right? I had a service position. I had started my first step. I had a sponsor. I was calling my sponsor. I was in contact with my sponsor. But when I was done, I would go home to my normie girlfriend, right? Nothing wrong with normies, right? But, like, I was in a separate world with her, right? I'm in your world. Like, here's my NA world. And then, like, I'm going to go home and, you want to go out, go to the bar, whatever, right? I was doing that. It was a toxic relationship, too. A lot of back and forth, a lot of, like, weird stuff. I got out of a relationship with her around 8 months clean. And I came to a meeting. I went to Here and Now, and I made a verbal commitment in the meeting to really dive into my recovery, right, and start working my steps like thoroughly, right, and continuously, right. So I did that, and it wasn't until I decided to shut the door behind me, right, after walking into NA that I started to see any sort of results in my life, right? And to get like that feeling, right? And to be able to hear the message and have it mean something to me, right? I'm sorry.
Good. Neither of you, it's 7:34, so you still got about 10 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, since coming to NA and deciding to close the door behind me, right, and actually work steps with a sponsor, right, my life has changed dramatically. My life has changed. I heard it said before, and I'll say it. I am living a life beyond my wildest dreams today, right? And to someone else, right, to maybe a person in the program or to someone from the street, like it might not look that. Actually, it probably looks pretty good. I got a cute baby, right? And I got a beautiful significant other. But it looks pretty average, right? Normal people. That's what normal people do is they have a job and they go to work and they fucking this and that. No, man, like honest to God, I live a life beyond my wildest dreams because I can remember being in the basement, gacked out, right? Knowing for a fact, knowing I would never make it out, right? Like, this is how I'm going to die. This is my life, right? Never believing that there was a way out, not believing in myself, and then so many other scenarios, being downtown and strung out, like just not having any hope, right? And just feeling like, how am I going to make it out of this? This is it. So this is a life beyond my wildest dreams. I have a home group. It is the Positive Level group of Narcotics Anonymous. Meeting's actually suffering. I am of service to that group. I'm of service to the Three No Hands meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. I have a sponsor. I'm on step 11. I'm grateful for my life today, and I'm grateful that I understand that it wouldn't be the way it is today if I wouldn't have decided to work some steps. For me, the steps are not, like, nobody told me this. Maybe I just didn't hear it, but the steps are not about writing stuff about your life on a piece of paper and telling it to someone else. The steps for me are about applying the principles that I learned in the steps to my life, right? Which I'm not perfect at, right? Ocean Shores, man. Hey, I'm done, dude. Went to the casino. Terrible, man. I hurt myself, dude. I hurt myself not only because, like, the financial thing, like, that's not really the big deal. That'll always come back. But it was how I felt on the inside, man. I felt empty. I felt loaded, man, at 4 a.m. at the fucking video poker machine, right? Yeah, you saw me. You see him. But like I'm not always, nobody's perfect. But I do have a good sense of like self-awareness, and I have people to pull me up on that stuff. And I have a program to work through that stuff, and I know that like things are going to get different, and things aren't always going to stay the same. So for me, the steps are about applying the spiritual principles that are contained in the steps to my life to the best of my ability. So, like I said, I guess this is something to share. I didn't have a dad in my life, right? I didn't have a father growing up. I feel like my mom did a pretty good job though, being a single mother. But like I get to be a father to my daughter today, right? And I get to be a loving, respectful partner to my girlfriend, right? And that's something that I wouldn't have gotten without the steps of Narcotics Anonymous, right? That's something that I was never capable of. And to be honest with you, when I met Bree, she was about to be the first of many, right? Because I had just gotten out of this weird relationship with the normie chick, right? I started to see the magic in NA. I started to see what I could possibly have in Narcotics Anonymous, right? So I started like fellowshipping more and started, trying to like hang out with people in the fellowship, right? But I also, what I was trying to do was like, I was about to be on a bad run, man. Like I was about to be doing what I used to do, and then I met Bree, right? And I didn't have to. Bree's the only person in Narcotics Anonymous that I've ever slept with, and the only person that I ever have to, right? Even if you want to. But where I'm going is that I learned. Oh, thank you. 5 minutes. But I learned how to be. I learned how to be faithful in a relationship with, which is something that I was never capable of. This is only the second relationship I've been in that I haven't cheated, right? So I'm pretty proud of that as well. I feel weird saying I'm proud of things up here because I know it's about humility, but it's okay to be like proud about some stuff. You know what I mean? Because I've come a long way. For the newcomer in the room, like if none of this makes sense, I'm about to go on like a cliche rampage right now. If none of this makes sense to you, man, just keep coming back. It's okay. Like it doesn't have to make sense, but what matters is that you keep coming back to meetings and don't use in between meetings. Get a sponsor, right? Getting a sponsor is important. It was important for me. Dive into the steps. Like it doesn't matter. You don't have to be perfect at them, right? Because what I'll tell you is that my relationship with my higher power now is completely different than the one I had when I started the steps, or should I say like lack thereof, right? And what I come to realize is that I've had a loving God watching over me my entire life, right? And I just wasn't like aware. I wasn't open-minded enough, right? And so the way I view my higher power is that I try to stay so open-minded today about and give credit like where it's due. Like if I think about it, like the Brandon that I know from like back in the day and that grew up as that insecure little kid, right? That like self-loathing, self-hatred, all that stuff would not be capable of living the life I live today, right? So how does that happen, right? Of course, it happens with Narcotics Anonymous and the help of my peers and my sponsor, but that's not it, man. It doesn't stop there, right? So I got to give credit to God, right? That's where I give credit to my higher power. When I got here on the second step, when I was on my second step, I had this idea of what I thought my higher power was, and I had him in a box over here. And I said, well, this isn't the higher power that I grew up with going to church at. This is different. Like, I'm over here. How can I pray for other people to my God? This is an idea I had. I'm like, it's my God. It's not his God. How do I pray for him to my, right? I continued to work the steps, and that idea opened up into, like, I can't even call it, right? It's a power way greater than myself. And I don't ever say that, like, my higher power is growing, right? What makes my relationship with my higher power grow is only my ability to be open-minded to its presence, right? And so I give credit where I believe it's due, right? Like, thank you, just like, thank you for that. I don't think I would have been able to do that on my own. And that helps for me to build a relationship. How many minutes? Seconds? 2 minutes? All right, I'm gonna end with it's a story like this. This is a story I heard. I heard this story on a speaker meeting, right? So apparently this is a story that's been passed down in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm going to tell it. So there's a little boy, 5 years old, And his dad's a businessman, and he wants to spend time with his dad. He wants to play with his dad, and have fun. But his dad's busy. He got a lot of work to do, right? So the dad takes a puzzle, a map of the world, right? And he rips it up into like 200 pieces. And he tells the kid, okay, son, you put this map together, right? And after you get done putting this map together, we can play, right? So he gives the map to the pieces to the kid, and the kid's thinking, man, this is going to buy me a few hours, right? And the kid gets the map put together in like 5-10 minutes, like no time, right? And the dad goes, wow. He said, man, how'd you do that, son? And the kid said, Dad, on the back of the map, there was a picture of a man. I just put the man back together, and the whole world fell into place. Right? And he describes it as like, that's like basically like the spiritual technology of the steps, right? Like, I got to fix me, man. If I can fix me, then everything else is just going to fall into place. But if I'm over here trying to fix everything outside of me, when I'm not fixed yet, right? Like, I'm expecting things out here to just be fucking amazing, right? And I haven't done anything in here, it's not going to work, right? So, thanks for letting me be of service. That's it. Yeah.